Hi everyone, and welcome to our City Skylines Global Build-Off Airports Edition. I am Jonathan. I'm the Influencer Manager for Paradox, and I'm here with Jan. Want to say hi?
Hi!
Very,
if
very
you don't
good.
know me, I've been here so long now. Come on.
Yeah, you should know him. He's always on stream. And we are two of the three judges that are going to be looking through our 13 entries from all sorts of creators. And we have a third judge that will be off camera, but still submitting scores for the winners of this global build-off, and that is Maddie, leader of the Monkeys. So between our three scores, we will be scoring this competition today. And we will be judging this global build-off on three criteria. They are first, realism, second, creativity, and third, functionality. Because what good is an airport if nobody can get there? LAX, you should take some lessons out of that one.
Oh, come on. They're getting a little bit better.
I don't know about that. I mean, they still have a long ways to go. But maybe they'll take some inspiration from today's entries. That's what we can hope for as well. Without further ado, let's get started with our first entry by City Planner Plays.
It's a giant highway. There's always a giant highway.
Oh, and look at those lights. Perfectly lined up. That's got to make any... Oh, did you see the wing clipping there, though?
I did. That was my nitpicky point with this one.
I did see some of these toll booths, which would act as like a parking gate. That's a really good plus for functionality. When it comes to the creativity part here, the asymmetric layout of these terminals, it makes you feel like this is very realistic as well. All right, so next up we've got Czardus. Double-decker, that's the departures and arrivals. That is
I will say, this airport, I'm like Beijing. That's
a lot of hangars that are not compacted together. When it comes to creativity, I really loved the terminal. That was a lot of modern art. It was high tech. You could see that there was a very central style to it.
Nitpicky point for me, the terminal was slightly slanted compared to everything else. Kind of like middle ground in creativity for me. Functionality itself, I feel it's a very functional airport.
All right, so let's move on to Teddy Radko. Right off the bat, we see some really awesome taxiways. It's going to be costly, but that is really creative.
Teddy specifically only used vanilla assets that are available through the game and the expansions, which I feel makes this slightly more impressive.
Yeah. I also saw something that's really realistic, and that is that you have multiple entrances into your terminals. I think that's really looking solid in terms of functionality and realism, but I didn't see as many creative elements on this one as I've seen in others thus far. All right, let's start up with Palm's Time. That's a really neat terminal design. I'm loving that look. I like the style that we've got here, but nothing looks unrealistically creative. And what I mean by that is that everything here looks like it's serving both functionality and still looks nice without going overboard.
It's definitely an interesting entry. It seems to be functioning really well. It has those connections. It is a large airport.
There were covered walkways going from the hotel and the parking right to the departures section.
A very nice little touch.
Alrighty, next up is Imperatur. Starting with a really fantastic overhead shot. And look at those little islands he's built in. That's posh. That's some luxury airports right there.
I love the little monorail connections between the central terminal and the satellite terminals.
Yeah. Here you've got your central hub, and from there it connects out to multiple satellite areas.
The only thing that I would hate is landing at one of those satellite terminals and having a connection on the other side.
That's a really solid point. I'm given some really high points for creativity, and is an airport not under construction. Cool. Imperial Jedi. Nice opening shot there.
You can definitely tell where Imperial Jedi is from.
We've got some good taxiways laid out there. I see paid attention to lighting as well, good amount of warehouses.
To me, with the size of the planes that we're seeing, I think that definitely brings down the realism for me. I like the functionality of it.
Yeah.
You've got the main central hall, and then all the concourses are connected, so it would be relatively simple to get around.
Got a good vibe to it, good aesthetic, although it is simple. And really positive points there in terms of functionality. Let's move on to the Timeister.
Oh, yeah. It's a very, very solid entry.
Something in the realism points that might have been hard to notice, but I noticed there are areas where there is long untrimmed grass and then very trimmed grass anywhere close to any of the runways or airport structures.
Airport fire stations, which is something that we haven't seen that much.
Yeah.
Very much appreciated to see that, like, they even thought of that service, which is one of the most important services at the airport besides probably air traffic control.
There is going to be a trade-off for higher points to creativity, but a bit lower points on the functionality and realism. Let's play it up, PHTN. Is that an underground highway going over to the airport?
It seems to be well connected with each other.
It's completely connected, so foot traffic is going to be able to move back and forth.
You can see there's public transport going in and out of it. There's highways going in and out, which means that you're going to be able to move a lot of people.
Right. There does seem to be a lack of parking. I mean, you'd expect there's probably a lot of underground parking, so we can give it to that. Incredible creativity there. I do think on the realism side, the extraordinary cost of how much would be built underground, even just the parking and all the highways, that would be expensive.
It's going to be high points for creativity because it's beautiful. Functionality-wise, it's going to be kind of middle ground, definitely for me. Next one is Atys.
I'm seeing really beautiful terminals here with that nice glass coating.
One of the things that this airport screams to me is kind of slightly steampunky. This one is one of those we see the shots from inside the terminal, which I love. It points to creativity, but it's very empty. For me, I think it looks very functional. It looks amazing. Realistic? I don't. How do you judge this on realism? I don't know. I love that it's not a modern airport.
bsquiklehausen is up next. A bit of a desert feel, but I mean, there's obviously water flowing through here, so it's a nice location. Yeah. I see fencing up around the airport, which is a nice touch of that realism as well.
There's also the blast barriers, the jet blast barriers, which I find very nice touch.
I'm loving seeing these roads right up next to these big fences and stuff, because it makes you feel like this airport did not have infinite space, which other airports, they kind of made it feel that way, like you could just build everywhere, but this one feels like that's realistic. You had to fit this airport into this area.
Yeah, it's very functional. It's very functional for what it is. It's very high marks for me for this one.
All right, Slay 3K. All right, look at that. A really nice, strong highway entrance into this airport. I think that's super creative. It is maybe a little unnecessarily expensive, but nothing too crazy. Nothing I'm marking down points on.
At the same time, I like it, but it also feels like a very standard airport to me.
I think that's the trade-off that we constantly see, and it's what I'm looking for when I'm looking for that perfect airport is if you are excessively creative, then it becomes a luxury that drops your realism and even functionality sometimes. And I think this one does have some really good standout features. Like you said, it's exactly what you'd picture in an airport. All right, then, Quboid. Are we looking at a World War II era airport?
We're looking at what appears to be an RAF base.
I want to make sure that everything matches. And thus far, I think he's nailing it. I mean, little touches, little details.
I love the details. I love the little crashed plane. It definitely, it feels like, that makes it feel like a functioning military airport. The only thing I wish is that that he modified the runways and the taxiways to make them
right. That is the
a
one
little bit
thing
more
that does look a little off. Even actually just on the ground, having some big spotlights and the radar towers and stuff. It's
again,
a fantastic
out
thing.
of the box theme, not something we were
Ooh,
expecting.
Yeah, I love seeing that.
It looks wonderful.
I want to give this one some really high marks for creativity and realism. When it comes to functionality, is there anything that we saw that didn't look functional?
No, for me it felt very functional for what it is. It's a military airport. Supreme Flagship coming up.
Alrighty, our last entry, starting off with a fantastic toll booth. Got to bring in that money. A good realism sign for any airport. That's a beautiful
I love
scene.
these shots. These shots are so good.
That's some great cinematography. Look how this airport already feels used. Things are moving, flowing. You see vehicles going in and out. You see some covered walkways. We've got some bridges that are going back and forth. None that are going to the main terminal, though. But maybe could have done a little more there.
You can see it's very functioning.
Yeah, it's got everything you need.
And it's got a heliport.
Yes, everyone needs a heliport. All right, we're back. We have actually taken an evening to deliberate. It took us a while to go through these entries because there are some pretty tight scores, but we're ready to present the winners of this year's Global Build-Off Airports Edition.
I've been sitting here all night.
Yeah.
Compiling scores.
Stayed up all night thinking about this.
All night.
Between the three of us, we did compile our scores. Although very, very tight in scores, we did manage to find a few people that stood just a little bit above the rest. So we're going to start with our second runner-up, and that is Teddy Radko. Jan, you want to tell everyone why we picked Teddy?
We were all incredibly impressed by what he can do just by using vanilla assets. Granted, with mods,
Yeah.
I do have a message from Maddie. He was constantly innovating the game in ways that we've never even think of, and that the use of assets in new inventive ways always blows her away, and that this was no exception, and I 100% agree.
Yeah, congratulations, Teddy Radko. You are the second runner-up. The first runner-up goes to PHTN Gaming. I can proudly say it did one of the most uniform creative terminals that we saw in this entire series. The connectivity that you had in your airport really brought your scores up on all three criteria. It could work as a very functional, although very expensive, airport. So we're really proud to give you the first runner-up position. And then the big winner, our grand prize, that one, I wonder how many people are going to be able to guess it. The grand prize winner goes to QuboidCSL. We are really proud to present this prize to QuboidCSL. It's a $600 grand prize.
I mean, what do we say about it? One of the things that really stood out to me was how out of the box it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't what we necessarily expected in an airport build-off. It was themed all the way through, every detail thought of, and it was absolutely beautiful. The creativity was off the charts. Mm-hmm. And it also scored highly on functionality and realism for those reasons, because it was thought all the way through.
Some of the reasons I gave it high marks too is just that being a themed build, it was super important that everything fit. One little thing out of place would really tear apart a creative build like this. But everything from the wrecked plane that was crashed in the ground, to the trenches that surrounded it, to the vehicles that you could see around this airport, everything was perfectly themed. As Maddie also wanted to put in my opinion, best themed airport build. This could have been put as a diorama. It could stand on its own. And that's, I think, the feeling that all three of us kind of had, is that this was so picturesque that we could, it's the kind of thing that inspires city builders all over the world to do something that is crazy unique, something creative. And this is, I think, what we all love about City Skylines, is that you can do anything you want in this game. It's been an incredible global build-off. We'll be presenting this entire airport made by QuboidCSL on the following week, so be sure to watch our live stream if you want to look in detail at what this airport has to offer. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.